If you click that thumbnail, then you're obviously thinking about 3D printing. Or you've already made up your mind about 3D printing, but you're just not quite sure how far to dip your toes in, or maybe a budget constraint. Well, this is the Ender 3 V3 SE, and it retails right now for $179. It is a feature-rich, loaded entry-level machine for $179. We're going to talk about it all. Let's go. And before we get started, let's give a big thank you to Geek Buying. They're the ones that sent over this machine for us to take a look at. I'll have links on the screen and in the description below. So if you're interested, click them. Go check it out. Now, again, this is a $179 printer, and this is a machine that's, like I said, feature-loaded. And it is an incredible entry-level machine, like I said, that is filled with features that you usually only see or are reserved for much more expensive printers. The unboxing experience was something very similar to any other bed slinger. Handful of screws, couple of wires, things like that to assemble. However, of the Creality machines that I've unboxed and put together, this one was so far the simplest. It was 6 screws, I think, in the base, 2 on the top. You had a couple of wires to connect for the motors and the hot end. But other than that, it was a really simple assembly process. And I think that anyone, it doesn't matter how experienced you are turning a screwdriver, anywhere from about 10 to 15 minutes maximum, and you'll have this machine up and ready to go. Also, don't forget during the assembly process to select your voltage, which is 110 volts here in the United States and 220 for you 220 folks. Now, let's talk a little bit about why an entry-level machine at $179 is a really, really important thing. Right now, printers are coming down in price across the board, and we are seeing a flood of new machines on the low end. We're seeing a flood of new machines on the high end, and that's good for everyone. So this is a fantastic machine for people who either have a limited budget or who aren't quite sure if they really want to dive into 3D printing, or maybe this is a gift. The holidays are coming up, and you're looking at someone to send a gift to that you're not quite sure if they want to get into 3D printing, or you're buying a gift for someone and you know that kind of person that you buy the gift for and you don't really know if they're going to stick with it. Well, this is a fantastic machine because, again, it's $179. As we get started here, I hope that I'm able to convey to you how important it is that we're seeing these type of loaded machines come down in price. To see a machine like this at $179 is something that's pretty darn impressive. Forgive me for a moment if you already know everything there is to know about 3D printers and you were just coming here to learn more about this one. We're going to talk about the specs here in a moment, but I really want to speak to those of you out there who are really looking at 3D printing as something that you want to get into, or for those of you who might be buying 3D printers as gifts for those who are just now coming into 3D printing. This machine is by Creality, and that is a very well-known brand. They're the #1 selling 3D printer brand in the world, and they have a lot of models. They sell over 1 million machines a year now, which is mind-blowing. And this is a fantastic entry-level machine with tons and tons of features. The build volume on this one is going to be very standard. It's going to be a very normal-sized, moderate build volume, and it's 220 by 220 by 250 millimeters on the Z, or the height of the build volume. It has a flexible spring steel sheet, so that means that you can remove this, pop your prints off. This has auto bed leveling, and it has auto Z height adjustment or offset. And what that means is that the print head comes along and it measures using a strain sensor to know exactly how high off the build plate to start printing. And of course, the auto bed leveling is done with the standard or classic CR Touch. I found this actually to be kind of cool. The interface, while it's doing the auto bed leveling, has a really cool display that shows you the actual measurements that it's taking. The build plate itself gets up to about 100C, that's normal for printers this size. Now the tool head, this is a Sprite extruder direct drive tool head, and it gets up to about 260C. And interesting note, the Sprite extruder has sold 500,000 units worldwide, and I believe that number was accurate as of like June 2023. So that is a lot of Sprite extruders that are out there on the market. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We are a small channel, and it would really help us out a lot. Now, what does a direct drive extruder mean? That basically means that the extruder gears that drive the filament, that push it down into the hot melt zone, it basically means that they're connected. Now, this is a preferred style of printing for many different people, and then an alternative out there is called a Bowden drive, and that basically means that the hot end is here on the tool head, and that the gears to drive the filament are here, and it runs up through a tube into the hot end, or into the tool head. They're just a different style, one over the other. Some people have their preferences. It comes standard with a 0.4 millimeter copper alloy nozzle, That's very normal. And this prints PLAs, PETGs, and TPUs, flexible filaments. And you can print ABS. You're just going to have to find those ABS blends that print a little lower on the temperature scale. So as long as they print somewhere between 250 and 260 C, you can print ABS on this machine as well. Now, as far as printing goes, the printer prints at a maximum speed of about 250 millimeters per second, but you're likely going to be printing anywhere standard at about 160 to 180 millimeters per second. You load your prints via your slicer on a computer, you walk them over, and you'll put them in with an SD card. And of course, it has power loss recovery with resume printing. So that basically means if you were to trip over a power cord or lose power, as soon as power comes back on, the printer is going to resume where it left off. And it has a 32-bit silent mainboard. What that means is basically it's going to have the processing power to speedily go through your prints without pausing, lags, hangups, things like that. Hardware-wise, it comes with a 350-watt power supply. That basically means that it's going to have plenty of power to be able to run the hot end and the heated build plate. It's a dual Z printer with a synced belt at the top. Basically, that means that there's two motors that are driving the gantry up and down, and that's going to keep things a lot more level, and you'll just end up with better quality prints. It has dual 8mm linear shafts that run on slide bearings, and it uses V-wheels on the X-axis. And the interface is a 3.2-inch color display with a click wheel. Very common, easy to use, nice interface. I kind of like it. Let's talk about print quality for a moment. You are likely looking at some B-roll of some prints that we've done on it, and right now I just happen to be holding the little default cat that came on the SD card. I'm looking at this cat, and I cannot find flaws. It's pretty good looking print. I know it's got a texture of a cat, which kind of could hide some imperfections, but you'll be seeing B-roll of the quality here just momentarily. But it is incredible. $179. This is punching way above its weight class, and I'm seeing the quality that rivals any of the machines behind me that happen to be hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. So this is an incredible machine, and at this point, I have to say that of the couple of Creality machines that I've used, this would be the go-to recommendation that I would have for anybody who's looking to get into 3D printing, or someone who even wants a second or third 3D printer, and they're kind of looking at a budget machine. This would be the one that I'd easily recommend. I was very impressed. This machine out of the box, I didn't have to tighten any of the V-wheels. I didn't have to adjust any belts. I didn't have to do anything other than power it on, tell it to auto level, go to the SD card, tell it to print the cat, and it printed it. That's, I mean, if that's not a turnkey 3D printer, I don't know what is. Pretty fantastic. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this content. I hope that I was able to inspire you, if you're just looking at getting into 3D printing, that this is definitely a fantastic option, so you should feel confident in buying it. And we'll see you on the next one.